as well as another death at a Toronto condominium. These all occurred within days of one another. It is common knowledge now that opioid addictions has resulted in significant and far-reaching impacts in Hamilton and throughout the country. Like in many other communities across the GTHA, Hamilton has been grappling with the devastating consequences of the opioid pandemic and has declared a state of emergency in April 2023 related to homelessness, opioid addiction, and mental health. Today, you will hear about the sheer volume of the illicit drugs seized during this project that has had a devastating impact on our community and continues to have devastating impacts on our communities. The scale of these super laboratories has the capacity to produce hundreds of kilograms of fentanyl. Based on our preliminary understanding of the purity of these drugs seized, we believe the approximate street value of these illicit drugs to be $4 million. This figure is subject to many factors, including the degree to which the purity of drugs seized is able to be blended or cut with other substances and is able to then make it available for street-level consumption. As such, the value could rise considerably. These numbers should also be understood in the context of the very small sample size that is required to result in a lethal experience. Our message today is simple. As law enforcement partners, we will continue to be relentless in the pursuit of removing toxic drug supplies from our communities. Lives depend on it. A project like this could not happen without the support of our partners. Crime knows no borders, so we continue to work cooperatively with our law enforcement partners and other agencies to share information to combat illegal activity. I would like to start by extending a special thank you to our primary partners in this project, the Criminal Investigation Service of Ontario, the York Regional Police Service, the Ontario Provincial Police, and the Toronto Police Service. We also acknowledge other assistance provided by other services in the province, and that includes the Niagara Regional Police Service and the Guelph Police Service, the Canadian Border Services Agency, the FinTrack organization, and I would also like to extend my personal thanks to all the project members who worked very hard, tireless hours were committed to this project to make it a success. Thanks to this cooperation, we were able to dismantle a significant producer of fentanyl and other synthetic drugs. Addressing these impacts requires a comprehensive approach that involves law enforcement, healthcare providers, community organizations, policymakers, and the public working together to provide effective prevention, treatment, and support services. To this end, we are encouraged by the attendance of the City of Hamilton Public Health Department as well, as we work together hand in hand to reduce the harm felt in our communities. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Inspector Ben Thibodeau to talk about the operations and the investigative aspects of this project. Ben's role was as project manager in this investigation. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. First, I want to say that I am truly honored and privileged to be able to report on the success of this amazing investigation. Before I provide you with the results, I would like to reiterate that the successful outcome of this project would not have been possible without the relentless efforts and sacrifices made by the officers assigned to this investigation. The initiative was led by the Hamilton Police Service, but eventually became a multi-jurisdictional partnership with members of the York Regional Police Service, the OPP, and the Toronto Police Service. Project Odeon targeted fentanyl manufacturing and distribution in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton areas. The investigation uncovered 3 super clandestine fentanyl laboratories and 2 storage facilities containing chemicals, laboratory equipment, chemical waste associated to the fentanyl synthesis, and evidence of drug trafficking. The investigation began on November 23, 2021, after the Hamilton Police Service responded to a 911 call for a deceased male at a Hamilton residence. While inside the residence, police discovered a large-scale clandestine laboratory believed to be used to make fentanyl. Investigators suspect at this point that the young male perished from toxic exposure to the chemicals found inside the residence. The discovery led to the creation of a joint force investigation dubbed Project Odeon. Based on the lab equipment and chemicals present at the residence, it was determined that the clandestine operation had the potential of producing up to 63 kilograms of fentanyl at a time. As the investigation progressed, based on the staggering amount of waste discovered, it became clear that the manufacturing process had been in operation for an extended period of time, producing and releasing large quantities of fentanyl in our community. By tracing the origin of some of the lab equipment, investigators were able to identify a company based out of the United States. This company sold 3 items of lab equipment to an Oshawa-based company. From the movement of lab equipment, investigators were able to piece together an extensive drug network. Now let me provide you with details about the conclusion of Project Odeon. On August 2nd, 2023, members of several police services from the Greater Toronto Area and Hamilton area coordinated their efforts and simultaneously executed search warrants in Hamilton, Mount Albert, Smithville, Toronto, Whitchurch, Stouffville, and Vaughan. From these searches at these locations, amongst other things, investigators seized the following pieces of evidence: an operational fentanyl lab at 6800 16 Road in Smithville, a dismantled fentanyl lab at 4057 Bethesda Road in Stouffville, a storage unit in Stouffville used to store approximately 3.5 tons of chemical byproduct involved in the production of fentanyl, a storage unit in Toronto used to store 800 gallons of chemical precursors commonly used in the production of fentanyl, lab equipment and spare parts for equipment found in the various labs located. Based on field testing, we've recovered 64.1 kilograms of illicit drugs, including 25.6 kilograms of fentanyl, 18 kilograms of methamphetamine, 6 kilograms of ketamine, 2 kilograms of cocaine, and 12 kilograms of a precursor known as 4P. We also recovered a loaded Glock firearm with ammunition, as well as 4 extended prohibited magazines. Finally, we seized over $350,000 in proceeds of crime, including cars, jewelry, designer clothing, as well as Canadian and U.S. currency. To date, through Project Odeon, 12 individuals have been arrested and charged with 48 criminal offenses. These offenses include possession for the purpose of trafficking a controlled substance, production of a controlled substance, possession of proceeds of crimes over $5,000, possession of a firearm, and conspiracy to commit an indictable offense. The following individuals are facing charges: Lee Dewey Luando from Hamilton, Jason Paul Gill from Stony Creek, Shalkim Ibishi from Smithville, Cindy Lee, a physician from Toronto, Gary Moore from Smithville, Amanpreet Shergill from Hamilton, Gayas Sultani from Hamilton, Akila Sultani from Hamilton, Fayez Sultani from Hamilton, Wida Sultani from Hamilton, Sharon Paul Gill from Stony Creek, and Elizabeth Milne from Welland. Also, a Canada-wide warrant was issued for 34-year-old Kian Trong Wong from Toronto. By dismantling these laboratories, we have taken away a significant producer of fentanyl and made significant steps in our efforts to prevent hundreds of overdoses in our community. This was a very sophisticated operation that had been in operation for an extended period of time. Based on the chemicals recovered, without the intervention made possible through this project, there is no doubt that the unscrupulous individuals mentioned earlier would have continued their illicit enterprise solely motivated by profits. A project like this could not happen without the support of our partners. By working collaboratively with neighboring law enforcement agencies, we were able to remove significant amount of drugs and firearms off of our streets and arrest dangerous individuals involved in the production scheme. On that note, I would like to welcome and invite Inspector Langman Bulmer from the York Regional Police Service to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to attend today. I I'm Inspector Michelle Langman-Bulmer from York Regional Police, and I would like to impart the message that York Regional Police is a proud partner in the Project Odeon investigation, another successful joint forces operation. By collaborating across jurisdictional lines, we are making a real impact on drug manufacturing and drug trafficking across our regions and the province. York Regional Police dedicated a skilled and experienced team to this project, and with our law enforcement partners here today, shut down 2 illegal locations in York Region, one an unsafe, hazardous, clandestine lab, the other a building housing the dangerous waste produced by the manufacturing of drugs. The opioid crisis knows no borders and affects every jurisdiction across Ontario and throughout the country. In York Region, we've established the Opioid Action Plan to aid in our efforts to combat the harm caused by this crisis. We understand this issue must be tackled from different angles, including harm reduction and community supports. But that also includes enforcement by police. By shutting down the organized criminal groups producing these illegal and dangerous drugs, we are collectively keeping our communities safe, and that is our ultimate goal. Only by working together can we effectively fight these criminal operations. Our sincere thanks to the many dedicated investigators from each agency who worked so hard to make this project a success. Thank you. And I would now like to introduce Ontario Provincial Police Detective Superintendent Paula Milne.
Good morning, and thank you. My name is Detective Superintendent Paula Milne of the Ontario Provincial Police Organized Crime Enforcement Bureau. On behalf of Commissioner Thomas Carrique, thank you for your interest in this important announcement today. Today I'm here to talk about the OPP's Clandestine Laboratory Investigative Response Team, otherwise known as CLIRT. CLIRT was established in 2001, and the team members are specialists in investigating synthetic clandestine drug labs, also known as CLAN labs. A CLAN lab is an illicit operation that is set up for the sole purpose of producing synthetic drugs such as fentanyl and methamphetamines. Not only does the CLIRT dismantle synthetic clandestine drug labs, they also respond to all synthetic clandestine drug lab dump sites. You see, the amount of waste produced by one of these illegal operations is quite alarming. For example, the production of 1 kilogram of methamphetamine produces about 5 kilograms of toxic waste. This toxic waste is usually disposed of through careless dumping, resulting in environmental contamination, health hazards for the public. CLAN labs lead to toxic exposure, environmental damage, and chemical explosions. That is why identifying and safely dismantling CLAN labs is so important. CLIRT does not work alone, and we are grateful to the OPP Urban Search and Rescue, Chemical, Biological, Radiological, Nuclear, and Explosives Response Team for their support. These dismantling operations take an incredible amount of first responder resources. Dismantling a CLAN lab requires up to 50 personnel from police, fire, EMS, the Ontario Fire Marshal, and Health Canada. As a result of Project Odeon, we are able to assist the Hamilton Police Service in safely dismantling not 1, but 2 CLAN labs. As a result of Project Odeon, the 12 individuals arrested are responsible for both producing and trafficking in illicit drugs. This investigation has had significant impact on reducing harms and improving public safety. I would like to take this opportunity to urge members of the public to educate themselves on the indicators of a CLAN lab. Indicators include, but are not limited to, suspicious activity and chemical odors, garbage that contains numerous chemical containers or glassware, and evidence of chemical dumping grounds on or near premises. If you believe that a Klan lab is operating in your community, we urge you to call police, and that is your police service of jurisdiction or Crime Stoppers to remain anonymous. We as law enforcement remain united in our mission to reduce the volume of deadly drugs being produced and trafficked within our communities. I am grateful to all the sworn and civilian members who assisted in holding these people responsible for producing and trafficking illegal drugs. Thank you, and at this time, I would like to invite Julie Prieto, Director of Hamilton Public Services Epidemiology and Wellness Division, to come forward to talk about the impact of opioids in Hamilton and across this province. Thank you.